This video is for educational purposes only. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Viewer discretion is advised. Number 13. Minneapolis, Minnesota. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, 3 members of the street gang known as the Highs were found guilty by a federal jury on racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations' conspiracy charges and for using firearms to cause death. Prosecutors say the case stemmed from violence between rival groups, and after a prominent Highs member was killed in 2021, the defendants coordinated retaliation. They allegedly armed themselves at a memorial, then drove to rival locations and opened fire. One victim, Darrell Wells, was mistakenly targeted and shot multiple times, later dying from his injuries, a crime captured on surveillance video used at trial. Keon Pruitt, 22, Dantrell Johnson, 32, and Gregory Hamilton, 29, all admitted attendance at the violence and were convicted on RICO conspiracy and firearms charges. They now face the possibility of life in prison as federal authorities continue pursuing justice in a larger racketeering case involving nearly 3 dozen defendants. Number 14. Lexington, Kentucky. In Lexington, a federal judge has sentenced a local man to 65 years in prison following convictions on gun and drug trafficking charges, according to federal officials. Keith Lamont Stallworth, 41, was sentenced on February 12, 2026, by U.S. District Judge Karen Caldwell. The sentence follows a jury conviction in August 2025, when jurors deliberated for just 40 minutes before finding Stallworth guilty on multiple firearm-related charges. Those charges included carrying and using a firearm during a drug trafficking crime, possessing a firearm as a convicted felon, possessing a machine gun, and failing to register that machine gun, after authorities determined a pistol had been illegally converted into a fully automatic weapon. Federal prosecutors said Stallworth had also previously pleaded guilty to drug trafficking charges, including possession with intent to distribute 40 grams or more of fentanyl and 50 grams or more of methamphetamine, as well as using a downtown Lexington apartment to manufacture and distribute controlled substances. Number 15. Panama City, Florida. Federal prosecutors in Panama City Beach, Florida, have secured a lengthy prison sentence in a major drug trafficking case. A federal jury convicted 47-year-old Richard Wayne Young following an investigation that began in 2023. Prosecutors say Young was responsible for distributing large quantities of methamphetamine in the Panama City Beach area. According to court records, law enforcement used surveillance and controlled purchases to build the case. When agents executed search warrants, they seized illegal drugs, packaging materials, and evidence of large-scale distribution. At trial, prosecutors argued the volume of narcotics and the organized nature of the operation showed Young was not a low-level dealer, but an active trafficker. On January 30th, 2026, a federal judge sentenced Young to 30 years in prison, citing the seriousness of the offense and the threat posed to the community. Federal officials say the conviction reflects ongoing efforts to target high-level drug traffickers and remove dangerous drugs from Florida's streets. Number 16. Moncks Corner, South Carolina. In Moncks Corner, South Carolina, a major drug trafficking case ended this week with a 25-year prison sentence for local resident Eric Sebastian Bickley. A Berkeley County jury convicted Bickley of trafficking methamphetamine and cocaine possession with intent to distribute fentanyl and marijuana and possessing a weapon during The investigation began in April 2023 after probation agents responded to complaints about suspected drug sales at a Garfield Street property where Bickley was living. During a search of his camper, authorities recovered more than 120 grams of methamphetamine, cocaine, fentanyl, marijuana, 2 handguns, and over $2,000 cash. Prosecutors presented testimony over a 3-day trial, including evidence of prior convictions for drug distribution and domestic violence, establishing a pattern of criminal conduct. This week, Judge Jennifer McCoy imposed the mandatory 25-year sentence in state prison, underscoring continued efforts to confront dangerous drug trafficking within the community. Number 17. Lexington County, South Carolina. In Lexington County, South Carolina, a Georgia man received a lengthy prison sentence this fall after a jury convicted him on multiple drug trafficking charges. 39-year-old Vander Antonio Mingledolf, a fugitive from Georgia, was sentenced to 25 years in the South Carolina Department of Corrections following his conviction for trafficking fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine. Authorities say the case began in April 2024 after narcotics agents with the Lexington and Richland County Sheriff's Departments received a tip that led them to the Roadway Inn on Piney Grove Road in Lexington. Investigators smelled marijuana coming from Mingledolf's room and uncovered large quantities of illegal drugs. Searches found more than 100 grams of methamphetamine and cocaine, over 200 grams of fentanyl and fentanyl mixtures, and nearly $3,000 in cash in Mingledolf's vehicle. The defendant later admitted the drugs were his. Prosecutors noted Mingledolf has multiple prior drug-related convictions and is awaiting trial on similar charges in Georgia and Alabama. He is now serving his sentence in South Carolina. Number 18. Ocala, Florida. In Escambia County, Florida, a federal judge has sentenced a man convicted on multiple charges, including possession of a large amount of fentanyl and possession of a firearm by a felon. 38-year-old Brandon Joel Cates of Bratt, Florida, pleaded guilty in federal court to charges that included possession with intent to distribute approximately 285 grams of fentanyl, a highly potent synthetic opioid linked to thousands of overdoses nationwide. Court documents also show that Cates was a convicted felon in possession of a firearm, a violation of federal law. The case began in 2024 when agents from the DEA and local law enforcement developed information that led to a search of Cates's residence. During the search, investigators recovered the fentanyl, enough that prosecutors said could produce tens of thousands of potentially lethal doses, along with one or more firearms. Cates' actions, distributing a dangerous opioid while illegally possessing a gun, drew heightened scrutiny from federal authorities. On February 2026, a federal judge sentenced him to 20 years in federal prison, reflecting both the threat posed by fentanyl distribution and the seriousness of felons possessing firearms. If you want to stay informed, stay aware, and stay ahead of the headlines, make sure you subscribe, hit like, and turn on notifications. Because somewhere in America, the feds are already planning the next sweep. We'll see you in the next one. This is The Feds Did a Sweep TV. Open the door!